A lot of stuff he does strikes me as weird. He's kind of a weird guy. You've met him, I'm sure.
Sure, yeah.
You know, do you agree with me, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's a little off.
Mm-hmm.
He kept bagging stuff up. He was bagging some stuff up.
What was he bagging up?
Just like trinkets and shit.
And I like the, I dabble in trinketry is what I call it. Trinkets, just dabble in it. I don't have no secular interest to have a lot of it or anything like that. I just sometimes, if it comes available and I can afford it and I can make money off of it, I would get it.
He talks constantly.
Right.
And like you space out.
Right.
And so he was constantly talking at me. He went to prison for, and the story I got was that he got caught transporting...
The 80s and the 90s, I was not a, very compatible person, to be around.
What's the most serious thing you got investigated for?
That was it. Oh, no, I take that back. Lord have mercy, I take that back. And this still sticks with me to this day.
When examining the psychology of serial killers, psychologists and criminologists analyze their behavior and thought process to better identify recurring patterns. Many serial killers exhibit specific traits such as a lack of empathy, a strong need for control, and the ability to blend seamlessly into society, making their actions even more difficult to anticipate. While some are driven by underlying psychological disorders or past trauma, others may be motivated by a desire for power, revenge, or personal gratification. What makes this case particularly intriguing within the true crime genre is the surprising absence of DNA evidence at the crime scene, despite the brutal nature of the crimes. This lack of forensic traces left investigators on a relentless pursuit for months, leading to a series of unexpected twists and revelations. December 6, 2014, Joseph Hargis would make a disturbing 911 call, reporting that he had discovered his mother, 53-year-old Kathy Blair, lying in a pool of blood. She had been stabbed in the neck and the chest.
I think my mom is dead. There's a lot of blood. I think someone broke in. They killed my mom.
Joe, what's your mom's name?
Her name is Kathy Blair.
When police arrived at the scene, they noted several unusual details. Signs of forced entry were apparent, overturned and displaced furniture suggested a struggle, and missing jewelry pointed to a potential motive. However, Detective Derek Israel and Kerry Scanlon suspected that the scene had been deliberately staged to resemble a burglary. They believed Kathy Blair had been specifically targeted. Despite their suspicions, the lack of substantial evidence made identifying a suspect difficult. A key piece of evidence was a bloody shoe impression found at the scene of the crime. Investigators were able to determine the brand, size, and a distinct walking pattern. Detectives would soon interview Kathy's friends and family members, hoping to uncover any leads that may aid the investigation. They also noted the unusual timing of the crime, as burglaries typically occur during the day when homes are unoccupied. However, Kathy's murder happened in the middle of the night, raising even more suspicion. Days later, detective received a critical tip from Kathy's neighbor, Rob. Early in the morning of the murder, while testing a thermal scope, Rob observed a man leaving a car and walking towards Kathy's home. Detectives would take particular interest in the distinct gait of the individual captured in the thermal footage. Shockingly, 1 week after Kathy's murder, another brutal crime would shock the community. 85-year-old Sydney Shelton and 83-year-old Billy Shelton were found murdered in their own home. The elderly couple had been beaten, strangled, and Billy had been stabbed multiple times in the face. Jewelry boxes had been rifled through, eerily mirroring the details of Kathy Blair's case. At this point, detectives began to suspect they were dealing with a serial killer who may soon strike again. While continuing their investigation, one of Kathy's friends mentioned a handyman who had previously worked on her home and had made them feel very uncomfortable, Timothy Parlin. Timothy was a convicted felon on parole, with a history of serving multiple prison sentences for armed robberies. Detectives soon discovered that Timothy attended the Sheltons church, creating a link between the three victims. However, police noted that he was not the individual seen in the thermal footage captured by Rob. He was soon brought in for questioning. In the beginning of the interrogation, Timothy has been detained under the pretense of a minor traffic violation. However, unbeknownst to him, he is a prime suspect in the ongoing homicide investigation. Despite Timothy's talkative nature, detective brilliantly skips rapport development and begins to obtain critical information pertaining to the evidence at hand.
Okay. So, like we were just talking about, you got picked up for this traffic violation, all right? So, since you got brought down here against your will, before we can talk, I got to read you your rights.
Okay.
That's just the rule of how it is, even though you're not under arrest for anything that I'm investigating.
You didn't read me my rights the other day.
Well, that's because you weren't under arrest.
Okay.
So now you've been arrested for this traffic violation, so it changes things. That's the difference.
Well, we hope that that's going to get fixed pretty quickly, because that is not how.
Okay, we can discuss all that. So you have the right to remain silent. So any questions about any of those?
No.
Basically, you're in charge. Okay, you talk as long as you want to, and then.
Well, I need to know, why come you didn't just let me know that you thought I could maybe help somehow?
Well, here's the thing. We went over to talk to your wife because we hadn't had a chance to talk to her before.
Okay.
And so we caught her there. It was just she was there. And
Yeah, we had just got back from lunch.
Oh, okay. So we talked to her, and she gave us consent to search in the
Right.
apartment.
We're always going to cooperate
Right,
with
sure.
you. Sure.
And and you have been really cooperative, with the van and everything like that. So
And I would hope she's the same way. So she.
Oh yeah, she was totally cooperative, very, very helpful with us and everything. So
Was there something that you were looking for in there?
well, yeah, you understand that we're looking at what we're investigating, right? We talked to you about it the other day.
Really.
We're investigating a murder that
Yeah,
happened.
I don't know anything about it. I don't really understand what you're messing with me for about it, but
Well, like we kind of explained the other day, is that we went to talk to everybody who
right.
had anything to do with her, and that
Yeah, I
includes
never knew her. So
gardeners and people who did work on her house, and her landlord, and her ex-husband, and every other kind of person you could think of that we might
Right.
talk to, and we
well,
just
yeah,
worked
that
our
would
way.
make sense.
And we worked our way down the list till we got to you. Okay, so that's why we made contact that first time stuff. So I went to follow up on that as well, because when we talked the first time, your wife was not feeling well; she was asleep and everything. And,
Yeah, she
and you
was.
asked us not to bother, so we didn't bother.
She works chaotic hours.
Yeah. So of course we went in and checked the place. So there's a few things I'm concerned about, and maybe you can kind of help me out.
Yeah, if you tell me what they are, I'll
So
gladly help
one
you.
thing, there's a lot of women's jewelry there. So tell me about why there's a lot.
Was
of
it in
women's
a
jewelry.
book? Inside a book?
That's one place. Yeah.
Okay, I only have a couple of jewelry pieces. I'm wearing one, and I have an alternate that I wear that's a Mother Teresa
Right.
medallion. I wear sometimes, not very often.
Right.
I just like Mother Teresa. She was a good person, and she tried to always do for others.
Sure.
So I like to sometimes, I actually got that from a vendor, for a fair price.
You got what?
The Mother of Teresa medallion.
Oh, the Mother Teresa, the one you're wearing, you mean?
No, it was in the.
Oh, it was in the thing. Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that I can think of that you would have found is a Bible, or it's actually a book. But when you open it, it's not a book. It's a container.
Right.
And it's just junk stuff that I let the kiddos randomly play with or pick through.
Right.
And it's very old. There's nothing, I would gladly let you do whatever you got to do
Right.
with it.
At first glance, Timothy appears fully cooperative and eager to assist law enforcement in their investigation. The detective begins by asking questions to which he already knows the answers to, testing Timothy's honesty. Timothy, in turn, attempts to present himself as an elderly man, incapable of criminal behavior, an impression that will be proven far from the truth, as we soon uncover Timothy's criminal background.
So how did you come across that stuff?
I have collected it for a long time. When I was in 1993, they had stuff here they had to give back to me. They did whatever they wanted to do with it. I've always been a little collector of coins or stones or little junkyard garage sale stuff.
Right.
You know, if you can get it for 50 cents or $1 or $2, the kiddos will play with it if nothing else. I've got 4 grandbabies.
Right.
And then, like, sometimes for a birthday, if you don't have, you know, if you can't afford a good birthday present, then you can give them something out of the junk box. That's just a junk box is all it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens to be I used to like to do that a lot. Okay, I used to like to, I still like to go, like, on the Congress Avenue or whenever there's something going on where there's a lot of foot traffic and foot vendors, I still like to go peruse around and see what the people are having or making.
Right.
You know, but I presume you understood that from last time. I don't do anything wrong, and I'm fully going to cooperate.
Sure. Yeah, you've been very cooperative, and I appreciate
with anything.
So.
And she ended up there. I was in trouble about a year or so back. I'm sure you have a record of that. And it was... I have a question because that's what this license thing is about that you're using against me now, or that's where it originated from.
Right.
I was asleep in that same van, asleep parked, okay, and then they arrested me for parole violation for not reporting.
Right.
Okay, and then in the van they found a little bit of marijuana. In the van. But they asked me, since the vehicle wasn't moving,
right,
and since it was just a very minor amount of marijuana, how could that get my license messed up?
I'm not sure all the details on that, but I think that whenever you get arrested for marijuana, you have to do like a drug education program, or else your license is, even if it's not in the car, or else your license can get suspended. Yeah, it's part of,
even if you're not even in a car?
Yeah, even if you're not in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's how my license ended up being suspended. I've
Right.
never had any traffic violations or anything like that.
Right.
So
Well,
that annoys me.
That's a minor thing. That's
The mistreatment of me can hinder any type of anything that you would ever net or gain
Right.
from associating with me or asking me to figure out what can you figure out to help us or anything.
Right.
Because I'm an old man and I've been, I did my time and I've been treated harshly before, and I don't cotton to it too well.
And I don't think that we're mistreating.
No, you're not yourself. Your buddy, the day that happened, was a little bit.
What did he say?
Well, he was just a little bit astute, like he was like a dog on a trail.
Sure.
And that you just have to be up front, and then I'll open the door or whatever it takes.
If it isn't already apparent, Timothy is far sharper and much more articulate than he attempts to portray. Given his previous encounters with law enforcement, it is most likely that Timothy is drawing on prior experiences to carefully navigate the conversation and maintain his deceptive facade. The detective decides to take a non-traditional approach early into the interrogation and reveal that Timothy is the main suspect in the murder.
But I'm going to be straight up forward with you because I try to be as straightforward with people.
We should always be that way. That's the best way.
So, and that is that you're someone that we're definitely looking at in association with this murder that occurred. Okay.
You actually think that I did a murder?
Well, I'm not saying that you did a murder. What I'm saying is you're someone we definitely have to look at, and we have to do everything we can to try to get you off. So this is where it's real important. Okay. So you have some association with her, and you may not remember it. Okay. With Kathy Blair. Okay?
I don't think I ever met her. I don't think I ever saw her.
Do you know anyone else who's been murdered?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
No, I mean, you're the first enlightenment of anything at all, and you didn't do anything but just briefly mention her name. And the only thing I was trying to do was I was trying to put together my records because they got one of my briefcases when they stole the van.
Mm-hmm.
And it had I usually have a notepad of some type,
Right.
and several pens, and I keep notes as to what day I worked, what work I performed, who owes me for the work, like that. Phone number to contact, who it is, what do they want done. And that information may be in some of the paperwork that y'all probably found in the room.
Yeah,
That's the only
I found another
thing.
briefcase, and I didn't see any paperwork.
I think that's an older one. That's very old. Was it like a Samsonite one, like a real old school? Yeah, that has legal stuff in it.
I noticed you pawn a lot of jewelry as well. So where does that come
not a lot, just a little bit. What I do is, and she's actually been with me several times, I stop at garage sales and I'll get silver or gold broken. And I save a little bit of it until I have them, $20, $30, $40, $50, $60, $80 worth, and then I'll actually sell it, not pawn it.
Mm-hmm.
I buy it and sell it. But not very often, not all the time. It's because people are in a crunch for money. There's not a lot of it available. So, I have a coin. If you look at my wallet, they took it. I have a coin that I bought. It's a 1895, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I like I dabble in trinketry, is what I call it. Trinkets, just dabble in it.
Timothy discloses information that further intensifies the detective's suspicions, particularly given the fact that Kathy's jewelry was pawned at a local shop the day of the murder. So, the detective will continue to pry on this information.
I'm talking to you because you're kind of more of a, what I would say, kind of more of an experienced type of person. You've been around the system,
Yeah, I've been handled roughly.
So
I've never been treated fairly by the system in any fashion. Even when I chose to do 15 years on a cockamamie story, that if you go back and look at the story yourself, okay, which I'm sure you can do because I'm sure there's a report of it. If you go back and look at for yourself, you will see that it's a cockamamie thing.
The 93 case.
Yeah, and I did the time for it.
Sure.
And the whole time I learned and studied, how can I keep myself away from this kind of stuff?
Right.
And just because of my situation with work, I've been working at 7-Elevens. Unbelittled to me, I'm highly more skilled than that.
Right.
But I would rather do that than to go any other route.
Just the opposite. The quicker I can get you off the radar, the better it is for me, because then...
Does my wife understand your side?
Yes, yeah, we explained all of this to her.
Okay.
So, but...
Yeah, because I don't know anything about her murder.
Okay. So,
I know a little bit about some other things, but not that.
Yeah. So let me ask this, because this is a key thing, and this is something that might have happened, is that did anyone give you anything to pawn or give you anything, and now looking back on it went, well, man, I don't want to have that one held over my head, because now that the cops are looking at it. Because sometimes people who don't have a clean record will get somebody else who can pawn stuff, aren't red flagged and stuff, to pawn stuff. So that'd be important for me to know, because I don't want you to get hemmed up over.
This was December the 6th, and this is December the 30th.
Right.
So
this month.
The detective suggests that an accomplice may have been involved in the robbery, potentially providing Timothy with the stolen items to pawn. This theory is based on the thermal footage captured by Rob, which clearly shows that the individual in the footage does not match Timothy's physical stature.
Nothing I can think of related anything to what you're looking for. The only thing I can even remotely think of is the day that you came by, and I told you, I said, hey, I'm going to remember to look through to see, do I have any names or the list of the day when I worked at that residence, which was back in the summer, I believe it was, or spring or summer. It might have been summer. It's been 6 months or so, or maybe 4, 5, 6 months. I don't remember exactly when it was.
So
if he wants to give me a ticket, that's different.
right.
You know, I can pay the dang ticket. You know, but if he's going to let it go to where I have to get in a lot of trouble and have to deal with.
So let's focus. Hey, let's. I totally understand your concerns. I'm not doing that. But I want to stay focused on the important thing. Okay. Big. That's what I call little trouble. Okay. A ticket or even going to jail for a ticket. That's little tiny trouble. Okay. Big trouble is murder. Okay. Murder is big trouble.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really trying to steer you away from.
I don't need an issue. That's what I'm saying. I don't need any kind of an issue with law enforcement. I'm trying to do everything I can.
I get it. We're trying to do everything we can and that's why we're here. Okay. So
I didn't like this actual method, but I understand. You have to do
use methods that people.
All you have to do is just tell me, hey, I want to search the place, and I'm like, come on, I'll stay right here until you get here.
So let me just ask you a question. Do you know anyone else who's been murdered this month? Shouldn't be a hard question.
Who's been murdered? You mean
this month?
Yeah, somebody. She went to some funeral and a church thing for something.
Who did?
My wife did. She actually. I couldn't go. I was actually working. Somebody from our church. I didn't know them, but they're from our church.
Did your wife know them?
I think so. I think she did, or she knew maybe from the church knew them. Our church is real old. There are a lot of older people there, and hey, you let me throw a leak again?
Yeah, sure.
I'm in bad shape right here.
Actually, can you hold on one second? I'm gonna have an officer walk over there because I want to talk to someone else.
Whether strategic choice to reset the conversation, some may concur, a quite peculiar moment to do so. Timothy is now fully aware that police have established his relation to both Kathy Blair and the Sheltons. In response, he begins to distance himself as much as possible. Undeterred, the detective continues his confrontational questions exactly where he left off.
We were talking about these people from the church.
I don't know anything about it. She just told me something about it from the paper. She would know more than I would. She brought me the thing from the church.
And so what did she say? What did she say?
She just said she knew them.
Yeah.
She knew them from the church. You got to understand, the church is really weird. I go there, and I set up all the tables. And then, right after we have the dinner or the whatever function we're having, they break down the tables, and they're all old. So I do it.
So what did your wife tell you had happened to these people?
I don't think she knew us other than just whatever the paper said. She read about it. The only thing I remember is we were laying there, and she read something in the paper about it, and then she looked at me, and she had a couple of tears in her eyes. So I said, "What's wrong, baby?" And she said that she knew those people.
Oh.
Okay, so, or maybe not knew in the sense of first name basis or whatever, but knew, them from the church, knew that they were members of the same church. And then, a lot of the people don't go very much because they're healthy and they're old, so they don't go a whole lot. So you wouldn't see them. I used to go to Bible study Sunday mornings at 9:30.
But here's the thing, too, okay? And something we just discussed. And that is that, so you have Kathy Blair over on Tamarack, right? You were over at her house.
Well, I heard you say
right.
the name, but she didn't contract me or anything. I wouldn't even know her.
Here's the deal, too, okay? Weird coincidence. The Sheltons, you also have a connection to the Sheltons, too.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I mean, I didn't know them or anything.
You go to the same church.
But you got to understand.
And your wife knows them pretty well enough. That
she knew them. But I didn't. They're separate.
And just to be on the safe side, you've never been in their house, right?
Never been in their house.
Because she did.
Never been in their house.
Your wife did massage and stuff like that over for them at their house.
She had said something about she knew them.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would.
So you never went in.
No, I didn't have nothing.
I just want to make sure. That's again when we're talking about just making sure that if we see something, we have an explanation. You know, it's like I ask you everything that we've done, everything I've seen that concerns me. I ask you, and you give me an explanation. Okay, like
Yeah,
I found
want to
pills,
make sure.
I ask you, you give me an
I want to make
explanation.
sure
I
that
found jewelry,
everything.
I ask you, you give me an explanation. And that's what I'm looking for. So when I'm asking you stuff,
Yeah,
all I'm asking you for
I want to make sure we can
I'm
put
asking
it all on the
for,
table
for
here.
explanation.
You know,
Okay,
yeah.
and I'm not trying to BS you. I'm not trying to do it, but it is just kind of weird that.
I thought y'all were looking
you
for
just
knives.
you happen to know
Right.
people that were
Well, duh.
3 people have been
yeah,
murdered this month. Okay,
How many people?
well 3. There was the Sheltons were murdered and Kathy Blair was murdered.
The Sheltons, more than one?
Yes.
She had just said it was the lady.
Well, maybe she just knew the lady.
Yeah, maybe that's what she meant. Yeah.
So that's a weird coincidence. It doesn't mean that you did it. Okay?
Yeah, well, I definitely
so that's a weird
didn't do
coincidence.
it.
All right.
I
It doesn't
mean,
even mean that you know
we can do
that-
whatever
that-
it takes.
That it just means that we got 2 unsolved cases. Okay, and you're kind of a link between those 2 unsolved cases. So that's what makes this so weird. So now you kind of understand what I'm
That's
looking at. I'm like,
weird.
that's weird.
That's weird.
Right? So I got to look at you. I got to.
The detective begins to intensify his confrontational approach by asking Timothy if he has a problem taking a polygraph test. While polygraphs are not admissible in court, they often serve as a valuable tool during interrogations, often used to elicit any emotions or confessions following the test.
There's another thing that we do. It's an investigative tool we use in cases like this where we're just trying to eliminate people as possible suspects. And
Well, I
that is-
did that already.
Right, and that is a polygraph.
Oh, yeah, I could do that
So,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
If you want me to, I will. But I thought I was doing that when I did the DNA.
no, DNA is for so people leave traces of DNA behind. You know, like it could be in your hair, it could be in your skin. You could sneeze and blow it out. You know, and people kind of tend to leave it all around. And even when they wear gloves and get fingerprints or something like that, a lot of time we'll get DNA because they breathed on something or they coughed on something or hair fell out.
Yeah, understandable.
So
Well,
we
I
get
thought
that like
that
that.
was
So that's why we get
enough
that. Yeah. Well, that helps us, you know.
And then you taking
we get
those
something.
weapons out of the car. You're calling them weapons, or he called them weapons that day. And to me, I think they're all 6 months or a year been in there.
Right.
You know, I don't even remember the 4th one. I was looking over that list, the description list that he gave me, and I can't even really. He writes kind of fancy a little bit. I can't even really read the whole thing. But he said one of them was some type of a broken kitchen knife or something.
Mhm.
Now that one I really can't even figure in my own head where it came from or how it got in there. But I know it's been in there since the van was stolen or before, because it sat in Southside for a good while.
Mhm.
You know, before they ever let me know.
So what I'll do is I'll be able to get hold of you, and we'll make arrangements for the polygraph. And
Yeah, I don't mind
we'll do
doing
it.
that. I don't mind
Maybe
doing
tomorrow will be,
anything.
tomorrow afternoon is
I don't mind doing anything that helps. Okay,
Right.
but as long as it's remembered, hey, he helped us. Let's help him back. You know, because I had something I asked about, and I know for a fact that it was parked when it was stolen, and they broke that door lock. It was parked underneath that camera.
Right. And I'm going to take care of that. Okay?
So there's
Yeah. So I
something's telling
apologize
me.
for that. Well, by the same token, we talked, and you said you would check your stuff, and you didn't get around to it. I didn't get around to this, so I apologize that I didn't get around to it, but I will.
Am I under arrest at this time?
You are still under arrest for the thing, but I'm going to check with the officers.
Because I will gladly go look for. I think somewhere in that van or somewhere in some of that paperwork, there is info from that Tamarack job, because I remember keeping track of the hours and I remember talking with him about it on the phone.
Okay.
I know for sure he would remember that.
So
See?
let me ask you a question. I don't know. I mean, what your feeling is on this sort of thing. I mean,
Well, I'm a little bit upset.
Well, no, I know that, but so with regards to these murders, we have
Yeah, you
a
said
couple
3. I wasn't aware.
three,
that
but
there was
one's
3.
one is 2, and I don't know if they're related or anything, but they're unsolved murders, right? So I have a case where a couple of elderly people are killed. Okay, and I have a case where
That's
a
hardly
woman was
ever
killed.
do anything to for him.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I try to think myself, but I'm a police officer, so I'm kind of like a little jaded with how I look at stuff, So I would ask people, what do you think should happen to somebody who did that?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know any of how it happened or what happened. Did they shoot them or what? I don't know anything. But I would think that if they were church members of our church, they were good people. And so they need to be punished. Right. I mean, I can't really step up. I did my 15.
Right.
And I did it. It was tough.
Sure.
So they should have to do. I actually did. There's people coming in there for church and other things like
Doing
that.
Less time than you.
Huh?
Doing less time than you.
Yeah, I did less time than that.
Yeah,
and then not only that, it seemed like I got the raw shake every step of that 15. Mm-hmm. Every time there was a little disciplinary this or that or whatever, it was because they had a big hand and there's no other law to supersede the, like you have laws or morals to go by, or preferably morals over laws, but both. And there was never any of it.
Right.
And any of the dealings with me.
So you don't think in a situation like that, I mean,
they should be punished severely.
You don't think there's redemption that can happen for someone who did something like that?
We're taught to believe that in our Bible study class. We're taught to believe that they're, that they can. The worst people, because Paul was a murderer. We're taught that they can be saved by God.
Right.
But I would think that it would take God himself to be a part of it to do it.
The detective employs a classic interrogative tactic by questioning Timothy's morals. This strategy is often used as a benchmark during later stages of the interrogation, allowing detectives to confront the suspect with their earlier statements once the evidence is fully presented.
The 80s and the 90s, I was not a, very compatible person, to be around.
What's the most serious thing you got investigated for?
That was it. Oh, no, I take that back. Lord have mercy, I take that back. And this still sticks with me to this day. I'm in the joint, and I was in jail when this happened.
Right.
And they still pulled me in for this, for the yogurt shop murders.
So if you were in jail, why did they pull you in?
I remember broad as day sitting up in the day room watching TV in a county. I think I was in prison and I'm sitting up. I don't remember. I was locked up.
Right.
For something else. And I'm sitting up, and all of a sudden I'm looking up, and I'm seeing that on TV. Something's going on with some of these guys from that. And lo and behold, they pulled me all the way back from TDC back down here to Austin for that.
Just talk to you about that.
Yeah, and I'm like,
you were in jail when it happened.
They did not give a rat's ass how much hell and heartache that caused me from that point until 07 when I got out. They didn't give a damn. It was like, oh, we just yanked his chain and pulled him back and questioned him about that. When I got back here, I said, you look on your records, and it showed you I was locked up. I don't know nothing about it. I didn't have nothing to do with it. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Right.
And that was the end of it. But I was a little PO'd.
Yeah.
And I'm not PO'd with you. I mean, we're just two men trying to come to some kind of a medium.
Right.
And I'm cool with that. I'm an old guy. I'm obviously not in the shape to do what you're describing. I'm really not. Physically, I'm not in that shape.
To do what?
I'm not strong physically, okay? My feet are in bad shape. I don't walk very good. And I don't see myself, harming somebody like that. You'd have to go shoot them or something, or whatever. Maybe I could do that if they pissed me off, but I don't even have a gun. Mm-hmm. So how could I do that?
When's the last time you ever handled a gun?
Oh my gosh. Jesus Christ almighty.
This is just a mental exercise. If you did it, would you tell me that you did it?
Oh yeah, you asked me that already.
No, I asked you if somebody else did it. But if you did it, you would.
At this point stage, I'd have to tell you because you already. Yeah, I mean, if I did this,
Right.
you know, and you're asking me, ask me that again so we can clarify. 'Cause I don't know
You
if
did
the
it. I'm not
room's
saying,
bugged or
I'm not
what.
saying you did anything. I'm just saying if you did it, if you killed anybody, would you tell me?
Sure, yeah. At this
Why
point,
would
yeah.
anyone tell me?
I don't know. We got all our cards on the table,
Right,
you know. So it's kind of just between two guys.
right.
We both put our bridges on at the same time. You know, you're losing a little more hair than me, but just like on a path of life, you know, and we're just two men. Now, why can't I meet a man fairly? You know, that's one thing I stand on is you saw it. You
Right.
met me the other day.
Right.
I met two men, which is not cool. It's supposed to just be one-on-one.
Right.
You know, but I met two men. One guy, he's playing the bad guy deal or whatever. He had a hitch in his crawl that day.
Mm-hmm.
And he dug for, he could, I have common sense, and I looked at the van. The van's a freaking wreck. You can tell
Right.
if that was a previously used item or not, or you
Right.
can tell if it's been there a long time. It's got dust and dirt on it. You know, why it was a ruse or a trick for him to take them, you know, or something. Something wasn't right in the taking of them because
The detective poses a compelling question, asking whether Timothy would confess if he had any involvement in the murders. Although the detective already anticipates the response, he uses this moment to further evaluate Timothy's honesty, finding his reaction somewhat amusing. Finally, the detective reveals his true thoughts on Timothy.
I'm going to say something. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you because I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking.
Well, they did
I
it
hope
in
you
there,
don't. I hope you don't take offense by it, but I try to be as honest as I possibly can. Okay.
sure.
This is what I suspect. Okay, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not.
Okay, I definitely will.
What I suspect
I got to
is
pee
that,
anyway again. So.
is that we'll take care of it in just a second. So I know you don't have long, but so one thing I suspect, and the jewelry and stuff makes me think this, is that, and also a little bit of your background. I know that's a long time in the past.
Yeah,
okay?
I haven't had
But
any of that background in a
but
while.
people, you know, I know people sometimes go back to their ways, and that is, I suspect that you might be doing some burglaries. Okay, I think you might be doing some, maybe working at people's houses, going
No.
in and doing them.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. I'm not in shape for it anymore.
Right.
I don't got the mind for it anymore.
Well, how much in
You know.
shape you got to be to do a burglary?
You pretty much got to be. I don't even know if my ticker would take it.
Right.
You know, because it amps out. Your
Right.
heart kind of races, and you're in this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from the old days, if I was to explain it, it's like doing a big old bump of meth or something.
Right.
I don't know if I could handle it.
Oh, just the heart rate
Yeah.
being inside.
Yeah, I don't know if I could handle it. I wouldn't do good at it if I did it.
Yeah.
You know.
Is there something you can think of that could help
I
you
am thinking of a
eliminate you
little
as
something.
as a person?
I am thinking of a little something, but I'm going to have to think on it a moment. I'm thinking on something right now because you struck a chord when you asked me that. I'm thinking on, okay, but it goes back to, it ties into the van being stolen, man. That's what it ties into. It has to be who. Okay, get this. You did 15 in the pokey.
Right.
All right. You managed. You saved your integrity, and you come out swinging a heavy bat. I got a job right away. I got my own place right away. I bought my own truck right away. I worked my ass 2 jobs to the bone, and I came out and did everything successful. Somebody, I can't figure out who would be having enough balls to try to steal my van.
Right.
You know, because also, I know so many people, all it takes is for me to say the boom, and I did do that.
Mm-hmm.
We were even, several times I went with someone in their vehicle looking for that van.
Right.
And we was ready to take care of business.
Right. Sure.
You see, if I caught them in that van, we were
Right.
going to rectify right then and there. Now,
Right.
then you get a call.
There'll be a trial. There'll be a
Thanks,
trial right there.
thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
You know, that's what was going to happen. I was very upset, okay? Whoever had the balls to bug me like that is the kind of person that'll do something wicked. You see there?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's one or two I can think of, you know, that might have, but whomever did it, and then this is telling me something weird too. They didn't even have to bust the lock on that van, but they did. They didn't even have to. All you got to do is put your hands on the glass and pull the glass down. I got a screwdriver jibbed in the door right now.
Right.
Did you notice that? Mm-hmm. The glass falls right down. You take that screwdriver out. You don't even have to take it out. You can take your hands. They didn't have to put the lock. So that tells me that it's somebody young.
Well, most of those things were stolen by young kids.
Okay, but somebody knew that they were taking my van. The food pantries. I helped a couple of them get work. Not work with me, just get work. From other people that I know. And then I have helped a couple of them on some extra matters, that don't pertain to your thing, and so they think that I'm a nice guy or a helpful guy, and I try to be like that now. But somebody's eating at that with like it's a weakness, and they jack my man.
You didn't consider that maybe it was just some teenage kid?
Even if it was. When they did that, and then they abandoned it, where I was told they abandoned it at on 290, that tells me that it's somewhere in this district, somewhere in the north side.
Right.
And everybody freaking twinking knows in the north side. I did my part, and I come out, and I ain't been involved in nothing, and I ain't taken for nothing.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
So
everybody knows that. Everybody, even those freaking ones that pulled me down for the yogurt shop thing, they're like, "Hey, we better leave that guy alone. That guy come in here and fixed our business. He told us our business, and they should have looked for that before they ever yanked me."
So what? So when you went out looking for your van, who did you go out with?
Well, they wouldn't be of your interest. They're not. They're aiding me.
Right. I'm just curious who your friends are that would.
Yeah, they wouldn't be. They're just regular old guys, but they're down for like being treated right. They do things right. They work all day and go home to their girl.
Hey, so I'm gonna give you a call tomorrow about the polygraph. So whoever you want to talk to about
I try to get a hold. I have an attorney.
I
just don't know if he's that kind of an attorney. I just need to ask him. What should I
do?
Get
it set up. In the end, it's your decision. However you want to do it. You don't want to do it, you don't want to do it.
Oh, no, I don't mind doing it.
The interrogation concludes with Timothy feeling uneasy, convinced that he is the prime suspect in the murders. However, following the interview, he begins to crack, mentioning his friend Shawn Gant, and suggests that he may be involved. Acting on this lead, police brings Shawn in for questioning, which would eventually leave them shocked. In the beginning of Shawn's interrogation, much like Timothy's interview, detectives bypasses the rapport building phase and immediately informs him that a murder has occurred, without yet disclosing the victim's identity. This is done in order to gauge the suspect's response.
With Tim, and that's kind of what's holding.
I got it. I'm curious because I'm completely in the dark on this. Who was murdered?
So to begin with, we're not going to be able to say a lot about the actual murder that we're investigating, and it's not just to you, but just in general. We haven't talked a lot about these murders because it works to our advantage. Because when we talk to people, when they tell us things, we know that they're being truthful with us, so we don't like to say a lot.
You mean you don't want to lead them?
Right, exactly.
And we want to hear from people that we talk to what they know, not what they heard.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
And also with this particular guy, there's no telling what kind of stuff he might have been involved with that would be interesting outside of that, the murder in general. So we don't want to focus too much just on that. So
I actually thought of something I forgot to mention to you that's probably, or it could be relevant. I'm kind of a weapons collector. Mm-hmm. Like, I collect medieval weapons and knives and that sort of thing, sai and stuff. And when I met him, Tim, the first time, it was at his house. He just came over to meet with him. And, I was playing with my butterfly knife because I had shown some of my weapons and actually took up my hobby and started collecting, although she has the nasty habit of hitting people with them.
Right.
But the butterfly knife, how you whip it out and do that thing, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool, can I borrow that?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "I want to learn how to do that."
Right.
I never got it back.
Okay.
So
you never saw it again. Can you tell me what that butterfly knife looks like?
Yeah, it was. I bought it in Mexico years ago.
Okay.
And it was silver, except for a mother of pearl strip along the handle.
Okay.
And it was one edge, not double edged.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you told me to think about stuff, and that occurred to me because
that's perfect.
because really it wasn't a big deal to me that he hadn't returned it. But then I thought about it. I was like, that's why I asked about the murders too, because I was like, I don't know if he shot these people or what he did, but if it involved a knife.
Shawn makes a notable statement, insinuating that Timothy may have used a knife in the murder. This would be his first attempt to shift the blame onto Timothy. This remark also indicates Shawn's awareness that the victims were stabbed. Shawn now begins to describe how he first met Timothy.
So tell me, when did you first meet Tim?
The very first time I met him, I can't remember the date, but it was a long time ago. Like, it was this year, of course. It was at house, and as I say, it was a short meeting. It was the one where he borrowed my butterfly knife.
Okay.
He was at the kitchen table, and I was just hanging out in his room, and I came out to get a drink from the fridge, and I saw he was there, and introduced myself. And we talked briefly, and he was hanging around talking to him for a few minutes, and I was playing with my butterfly knife, and that's when that happened.
Right. And you're not exactly sure when that is, but could you say, was this summertime? Was it?
It was past summer. It would have been at the latest, like October.
Okay.
My sister, she floated a comment, something like, oh, well, once you get down here, you can do some jobs for Tim that, she said something like, he's got some jobs that he needs non-business for.
Okay, and what did you take that to mean?
Well, what I took it to mean is that she wanted some rough stuff done.
Right.
Like, maybe like collecting money for somebody or something like that. And the thing is, I don't do that kind of thing, but, talks me up to everybody.
Right.
Because it behooves her, because her boyfriends are afraid of me.
Right.
Because I have a lot of martial arts training. I was in the Navy, and I have a bunch of weapons and stuff like that. And so, she tells stories about how, like, I swoop down on a balcony or something, and makes me sound like Batman. And, so the boyfriends are always afraid that I'm going to come beat them up if they do anything wrong to her. Right. Well, I'm not even that kind. Because she's usually beating up on her boyfriends. Right. So, but she I'm sure talked me up to him, and so that's why she floated the idea to me, and I was like, great. Well, I'm trying to get a job with my degree.
Right. Not with my hands.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I have a microbiology degree.
Right.
So. It's not like...
What did you do in the Navy?
I was an electronics technician.
How long were you in?
Not long. I was out fast.
Okay.
Shawn briefly outlines his background, mentioning his service in the Navy, his degree in microbiology, and his enthusiasm for firearms. This information provides valuable insight into his skills and what he may or may not be capable of.
So was there anything that Tim was doing, I mean, in retrospect, looking back, now that I just told you that, that you say, okay, well that could be important, something that I saw, some way, or something he was doing, anything like that?
I have a bad eye for that sort of thing, but I'm going to try to think. a lot of stuff he does strikes me as weird. He's kind of a weird guy. You've met him, I'm sure.
Sure, yeah.
You know, do you agree with me, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's a little off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't know about all this, or I wouldn't have been associating with him, but,
Well, sure.
you know, he kept bagging stuff up. He was bagging some stuff up.
What was he bagging up?
Just like trinkets and shit.
But, and what do you mean by trinkets?
It just looked like, hard to explain. It wasn't really like jewelry. It was like, almost looked like belly dance stuff or something.
Mm.
It was just like random, you know, it was like, I'm trying to think. It was just random junk. And it was like, but it was like shiny random junk.
So, did you see...
It was in like a shopping bag with handles, paper shopping bag.
Okay. Did you see anything there that had blood on it, let's say?
I don't think I ever saw any blood.
Okay. Did he show you anything that night that he was particularly interested in you seeing that you recall?
Did he?
Like the things that he was packing up, did he show you those things?
I'm trying to think. Something. I think he did show me something. I can't remember what it was. See, the thing is, he talks constantly.
Right.
And, like, you space out.
Right.
And so he was constantly talking at me, and then he brought something out, and then I was just like, I was zoned, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like showing it to me. I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he really, you've talked to him, right?
Yeah.
He just yammers on and on.
Yes, he does.
After briefly sharing his thoughts on Timothy, detectives outline the forensic steps that will be taken, subtly persuading Shawn to be as truthful as possible. His body language and deep exhales makes it evident that he is under significant stress, which detectives capitalize on.
So one of the things that we're going to do as part of our investigation with anyone who's kind of like a suspect, possible suspect, is that we get historical geographic data from their telephones. Okay, so how we do that is we go to the actual carrier of the phone with a court order, and they provide the data that we request, and then we analyze that data. And in this case, it's actually the FBI that's doing it for us. So what they do, what that tells us is and you may know this already, but you know, cell phones, whenever they're operating, even if you're not actually making a phone call, they are hitting different towers because it's just these phones. They always want to communicate, you know, just to say I'm here, if nothing else. So they're constantly communicating with those towers. So when we look at that particular information, then we can actually take that data, and that data actually allows us to pinpoint the location of a phone at any given time.
You didn't make any phone calls during the time you were running around?
I don't think so.
Do you have your phone?
Yeah.
Can I look at it?
Sure.
Does it lock or?
No.
So what's really important is that if for some reason you stayed with him in the car that night, we need to know that right now, because we need to understand the explanation for that, okay? So, like I said, you know, when we talked to one of the things he talked about was, you know, going over, you know, Tim talked him into doing these burglaries, and he went over, he sat out in the car while Tim went inside. So, you know, obviously, you know, he was involved in the burglary as well, but that's a different kind of situation. Guy sitting out in the car is different animal than the guy who's actually going in. Especially if the guy in the car has no idea about what's about to happen.
Mhm.
You know, the guy in the car has no idea.
So you're saying Tim murdered someone when he was in the car?
No, not at all. What I'm saying is that, and I'll be really blunt with you. If you're in the car when Tim did the murder, we need to know that. Okay, that's something that we need to know because, as you've seen, our investigation, as I've explained, our investigation is very thorough. You've told us stuff, told us enough that we'll be able to figure out whether or not your story checks out. And right now, only you know whether it does or not. Okay, but within a couple of days, I'll be able to figure that out as well, and whether or not the story checks out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a human lie detector. I do not pretend in any way to be able to look at someone and know whether they're telling the truth or not.
Mm-hmm.
I never make assumptions about anybody. I think you're a stand-up guy. I think, I want to believe every word that you're telling me is the truth. But I still have an obligation to check every word that you tell me to make sure.
Yeah.
So, I know that I'm going to check that. I know I'm going to check that information.
Unbeknownst to Shawn, detectives already possess information he believes they are unaware of. Regardless whether it's true or not, Shawn begins to crack under pressure and proceeds to reveal the reasoning for burglarizing Kathy's residence.
We know why the house was chosen. That's what led us to you, because we know why the house was chosen.
Why was the house chosen?
Because Tim chose it.
Okay.
So we know that. So maybe, I don't know, did he bully you into going into the house or threaten your sister, or what was the deal?
I mean, what are you saying?
What we're saying is he went in the house. That's what we're saying. And
Yeah, he was threatening my family, okay?
Okay.
I told you I was afraid of the guy.
Right. I know.
He said my jump was, saying his name too much and he was going to kill her, and we're close,
Right.
and I couldn't let that happen. But I didn't kill her.
Okay. So what happened?
Well, I mean, he told me to go in the house and get the stuff. I don't know when she got killed. I mean, she was asleep.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if he came back or what.
Okay.
Look.
So tell me this. Let me just walk me through it. So
I would have never done this. I didn't want my little sister dead.
I totally understand that. So walk me through this whole thing, okay? Walk me through. Where did you go into the house?
He told me the back door was open.
Okay. So you went in.
Yeah, and I looked around and she was fast asleep. And so, I mean, he kept talking about, offing her, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. And then I was like, I was talking about, maybe using ether or something to anesthetize her, so she wouldn't, and he's like, no, just offer her. I was like, I'm not going to do that. And so I snuck in, and she was fast asleep. And yeah, I took her jewelry. Yeah, she had this big, tall jewelry box. I emptied it into a pillowcase.
Okay.
Right? And then, took it back, gave it to him, and he said that was what I had to do. Okay? I mean...
So tell me, I know that something happened in there, okay? I know that was your intent, to get in there, to quietly get in and quietly get out.
And I did. She didn't wake up.
But something happened, though, right? Because when you left, she wasn't still alive, okay? So we need to understand what happened, okay?
Yeah, but I don't know. That's the thing. She was asleep when I was there.
Okay, so she was asleep. So let's just walk through it, okay? So you came in. Let's just walk through the entire thing. You came in through where? The back door, you said?
Yeah, it was open.
Okay. Open, unlocked?
Unlocked, yeah.
Okay. So, and you walked in, and where did you go?
I looked around and kind of prowled and snuck through quietly. And
did you have a flashlight?
No.
What did you see in the house?
just rooms, and I just kind of looked through the rooms, and I turned on a couple lights in rooms where I didn't see her. And I found the room where she was, and she was fast asleep. That was the room her jewelry box was in.
Okay.
And so I opened the jewelry box, took the stuff out, put it in the thing, and then I called him and said, okay, I'm done. So I went out, and then we went back, and, I went to sleep. So, I mean, I don't know about my timing. Maybe he went back. I don't know.
Okay.
But I didn't kill her.
Okay. So let's walk through.
While detectives could have taken Shawn's alibi at face value, they were confident that the murder occurred while he was inside the house, primarily due to the matching shoe impression that Shawn had previously admitted to wearing during the interrogation. At this moment, Shawn breaks and decides to make a confession.
Something happened.
Yeah, but
Something happened. What
if
happened?
somebody came in and killed her and transferred blood onto the jewelry box and the light
That person was you. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
So
very
why are
important.
you saying that person is me?
Okay. And gladly go in front of the jury or anyone else who's making a decision in the case. Now, I'm showing pictures of that. Okay. I can tell them that way. And you can tell them your way. But they're going to know about it. There's no doubt about what happened. There's no doubt about who did it. The only question is, why? 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 And we need to know. Okay? Shawn, we spent a lot of time together, and I don't think you're a bad guy. I mean, we have been sitting here, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a guy who's a decent guy. So I can't reconcile that, with what I know about the case. You have to explain it. People are going to paint you as a monster. You have to explain it. You have to explain it.
She woke up, she lunged at me, grabbed the knife, started trying to wrestle it out of my hand.
Right?
And then it was a struggle, and I stabbed her in the neck. I didn't even want to do it. I was trying to get the jewelry without doing it.
Right?
And then she woke up, and I had the knife out, in case. But I couldn't do it. I mean, he said I had to. Tim said I had to, or he'd kill my sister, or have her killed, right? So, but I was standing over her bed, and I just couldn't do it. But, so I started doing her jewelry, and she woke up, and she just was trying to fight the knife away from me, and I was trying to, she almost got it away from me. She got one of my gloves off, and I was just, I don't know what happened. I just blacked out. I remember stabbing her in the neck after I got the knife back. I don't remember much else.
Okay. And then what happened? There was a fight I know there was a fight on the bed, and then something happened after that. Did she get away from you? What happened?
Well, I mean, she fell off the bed.
Okay. And what happened once she fell off the bed?
I mean, she just said, go away or something.
Okay.
And that was all. I mean...
And what happened then?
I don't know.
I mean, obviously at that point, you had to finish the job, right? Regardless of whether you wanted to do it or not, you had to finish. So, how did you finish the job?
Well, I told you, I don't even remember. I don't, after the fight and the first stab, I don't remember a thing.
In the first stab, how many times did you stab?
Just once is all I remember. Is I just blacked out.
What did you take from the house?
Just the stuff from the jewelry box.
Describe some of the pieces.
Just rings and stuff. I wasn't even looking. I just dumped the drawers. I didn't care. I didn't want it. It was just what I was told to do.
Where was the jewelry box in the room?
It was right by the door.
Okay. And where did you dump the drawers?
Right next to the jewelry box.
And earlier you said it was a white pillowcase. Where was that from?
One of the other bedrooms.
Okay. That was it? Just the jewelry out of the jewelry box was what you put in the pillowcase?
Yeah.
Nothing else out of the house?
I don't think so.
Let me ask you one question. Okay. Tim, where was Tim at when this happened?
In the car.
So he actually drove to the scene. Okay.
It's important. So it was the butterfly knife? Or was it some other knife?
Yeah, it was a butterfly knife.
Where's it at now?
He got rid of it. It was something Tim wanted done.
Yeah. Okay.
And he said, "You're going to get some good juju from this."
Right.
That's what he told me afterwards.
Okay.
It almost made me sick. Well, I mean, the whole thing made me sick.
So, whether it was one or more, it doesn't really.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm telling you.
Okay, no, I know, but but bear in mind, you told me a lot of
I
stuff.
know, but I mean, I just
Yeah.
that was too much for me. That one. I mean, it wasn't. I couldn't even do it until she attacked me.
Right.
And then I told him I couldn't do it anymore, and he said, "Okay, just keep your mouth shut." Else, And I mean, if you want to check my cell phone and say, was he there on the night that, the Brentwood murder or whatever, you're not going to find me there. I'm telling you, I was at my hotel room trying to chill out.
And what do you know about that murder?
I don't know anything about it except that he told me about it. He said his girl picked it up on Facebook and wanted to go to the funeral. He didn't even act like he did it. He was just acting like it was news. But he said the heat was on because of it. He said that there were a bunch of cops everywhere because of it. That was why he told me about it.
Okay. All right. You have any questions for me right now?
What's going to happen to me?
All right, so this is so what we're going to do. So what we're going to need to do for right now is we're going to place you under arrest for capital murder. Okay, based on the information you've provided us. Okay, we'll present formal charges here in the next day. But we, but at this point, I don't feel that.
Although Shawn confessed to murdering Kathy Blair, police remained uncertain about who was responsible for the Sheltons' murders. They also questioned whether Timothy had orchestrated Kathy's killing by directing Shawn to commit the crime. In November 2019, Timothy Parlin was charged with multiple counts of capital murder, while Shawn was charged with 1 count of capital murder for the death of Kathy Blair. Both men were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In the end, both parties would point fingers at each other, claiming that the other is to blame for the murders.